Why don't we take a look at the 175th day of this calendar year? Can you tell we are getting closer and closer and closer to that halfway point? June 24th, Bartender and Mixologist Day. Now, I never really wanted to be a bartender. You know, I worked in restaurants as a teenager. But I never wanted to tend bar. I never wanted to know, well, how do you make a tequila sunrise or some of these other drinks? You know, had some fancy names to them, but I never really wanted to get into it. But I'll tell you what I did like. I liked the coinage that bartenders made. You know, on a given night, and I'm talking back in the 1970s, on a halfway decent night, a bartender was bringing home $100. That's 1970s money. No idea what they make today, but my guess is upwards of 200, maybe $300 on a decent night. Bartender and Mixologist Day. It's Global Smurfs Day. Where does that come from? I don't know. You know, they were popular back in the 1980s, but Global Smurfs Day? Are we serious about some of these things? Great American Backyard Campout. This is when folks, weather permitting, decide that they're going to camp out in their backyard. If you've got one, great. If you live in a tenement, good luck. But it is the Great American Backyard Campout today. International Ferry Day. Where's that one coming from? What kind, you know, there was the day that we termed certain people fairies. Probably not safe to do that today, and I'm not going to do it. But International Fairies Day. And what is this month? Can we think about some of the things that really happen? International Fairies Day. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So please, if you ask me, don't be surprised if I say, I don't know. I just don't know. Who comes up with these? And what's the real intent? International Ragweed Day. I never found out for sure what those cotton ball type things that were flying around last weekend. And by the way, I did see a few the other day. I think it was Thursday or Friday, flying around, floating in the air over by where I live. I don't know if they're still flying around in your yard, but today is International Ragweed Day. Somebody said that they were cottontail tree balls. Makes as much sense as anything else. Heard a couple of other things. I'm not quite sure what they are. But at any rate, today, Ragweed Day. National Celebrate Your Marriage Day. So, we have anniversaries. And we celebrate marriages on anniversary dates. So is today supposed to be one of those days where it doesn't matter if you got married on June 24th or April 13th. Everybody's going to celebrate their marriage today. By the way, couples, you probably should be celebrating your marriage every day, one way or the other. You know, just a, hi, honey, how you doing? Something along those lines. I want to celebrate you today. But to have a national Celebrate Your Marriage Day, by the way, what happens if you're from Canada or Mexico and you're married to someone in the United States? Isn't it a marriage celebration day for you too? Yeah. It's also Swim a Lap Day. And by the way, isn't there some type of swimming going on? I think Jim Phillips mentioned on Town Square Sunday last weekend that there's a swim going on today from New Bedford to Fort Phoenix. So swim a lap day. Have a good one. 1957. The United States Supreme Court rules that obscenity is not protected by the First Amendment. In case you're interested, the case was Roth versus United States. 1947. The first widely reported... Where is Tim? Where is Tim? Oh, he's probably taking some time off. 1947. The first widely reported UFO sighting took place on this date near Mount Rainier in Washington. Now, I know Tim wasn't around yesterday. Maybe that's why. Maybe he was chasing down that first widely reported UFO sighting. 1 year ago today, Supreme Court. You know what they did. They ruled abortion is a state's rights, not a national issue. Roe overturned by Dobbs. We'll talk about that if you'd like today at 508-996-0500. That's how you can get onto the program. The Brian's Beat quote of the day. I really like this one. I like most of them. By the way, I probably like all of them. But I really like this one. When I read it, I was saying, wow, how did I never come across this one before? Here it is. The most important story you will ever tell about yourself is the story you tell to yourself. That's from psychologist and author Jim Loher. Say that one again. The most important story you will ever tell about yourself is the story you tell to yourself. Wow. That kind of hits it. Telling any stories lately? Probably not, huh? Oh, well. The most important story you will ever tell about yourself, is the story you tell to yourself. As I look to the east, it looks like the sun is doing a little battle with the clouds, and the clouds are still overbearing, but the sun is trying its best to shine upon us. The raindrops, at least for the time being, have subsided. Who knows? Rain is definitely in the forecast, so maybe we're going to get a little break right now and then some more rain later on. Let's see. I saw some homeless in the rain in downtown New Bedford this morning. One trying his best to sleep on the little wall there next to the bus terminal. And then a couple of people actually walking, dodging the raindrops, so to speak, going through downtown. And as I made my way out of downtown, I actually went down William Street, went over by the what's that whale thing? The whaling museum. The whale thing. Went by the thing with the bones on the wall. I went by there, turned right onto Union to make my way up Union. Then I turned left on 7th because I wanted to take a little peek over at Abolition Row. That park opened up at 7th and Spring. And I could see, faintly anyway, it was pitch dark out, but I got a glimpse at the statue of a young Frederick Douglass. And, it looks pretty cool for New Bedford. I don't mean that, probably didn't sound right, but I mean, it looks cool where it is. And it's a good thing for the city of New Bedford. I wanted to go yesterday, but there were some prior commitments that forbid me from getting over there for the actual ceremony. I'm sure they did a great job, Lee, Blake and company, but it was worth my while, and maybe I'll do the same thing when I get out of here today, weather permitting, get a daylight view of Abolition Row Park. But it's there. It's there, and it's another attraction for people to come to New Bedford. Now, I got to just be straight up about this. I don't know how many people are going to come to the city of New Bedford because they want to see Abolition Row Park. Is it something worth viewing? Yeah, it is. If you're here, I don't know that you make a particular detour. Let's say you're coming in from New York and you're making your way down to the Cape. I'm not quite sure you take a right at Albuquerque down Route 18 and then go up Union to take a peek. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. To each their own. I took a view because I wanted to see what it looked like. But it's nothing that you're going to, spend even 25 minutes viewing. It's there. It's nice. But do you say to the family, on our way to the Cape, why don't we go to New Bedford? They've got this Abolition Row Park. Hello? What's there? A bust of a young Frederick Douglass. Yeah. Some might not. Don't want to down it, but I'm just trying to be real about it. Let's see. Last Sunday, you know it, I know it, it was Father's Day. This father was taken by his two sons to Fenway Park. We went to the Red Sox game. I went to the Yankees game. They went to the Red Sox game. But believe me, I was outnumbered and outscored. But I got to tell you, the one thing that still stands tall for me is Fenway Park. I'm not sure that it is the best place to view a baseball game, but I love it. Yankee fan or not, I love Fenway Park. I love going to Fenway. I like the view. And in this particular case, I think we were row 12, 13, 14, 15, directly behind home plate. No complaints about the seats, but even if I'm sitting in the bleachers, I've never had the wall seats. But I've sat just about every place in Fenway Park, and I love that ballpark. Yes, I like it better than Yankee Stadium. Yes, I like it better than Chavez Ravine, which is where the Dodgers play. I like Fenway Park. I hope they never do away with Fenway Park. That's just me talking. If you'd like to add on to that, 508-996-0500. Let's go to the phones and say hello to you. Hello to you.
Good morning. How you doing this morning?
Winging my wang.
I'm glad you spoke about Abolition Row. It was a tremendous showing yesterday.
You checked it out?
There were at least 2,000 people there.
Really?
It was unbelievable.
Tell me about it.
Well, I arrived about 3 minutes late, and they started right on time. What brought down the house, in my opinion, was Everett Hoagland. He quoted from Frederick Douglass a number of times. And, of course, the ovations for Lee Blake and her efforts and how they put that together, pretty phenomenal. They did use CPA funding, for example, but they parlayed that into other funding. And I was just really moved by it. You had Mayor Mitchell, you had Mayor Bullard, you had Mayor Lang there, you had Tony Cabral there. I'm sure there was a sprinkling of the city councilors. I saw Phil Paleologos there. I was trying to identify some of the people there, but it was basically the people that worked real hard to put that thing together. I did have the occasion to walk across the street, and there is a placard there, National Historic Places placard. and what transpired in the Johnson House over the years, part of the Underground Railroad. And as far as your comments on whether people are going to stop here, you wouldn't believe the number of people that follow Frederick Douglass.
I wouldn't?
And the Underground
believe me,
Railroad.
I do, but I don't know. Well, I guess the jury's out. If they do, they do.
They're going to come.
They're going to come.
I believe they're going to come.
They're going to come.
I mean, when I was
how big
Atlanta,
is the park?
Let's see, geometrically, maybe 50 yards by 30 yards, like that. And it has whatchamacallit, in the southern part of the park. But, yeah, very well kept, a lot of money spent. And I think it's a tremendous asset to the city. And then the reason why I call is to give a shout out to all those people from the city that worked very, very hard to make that what it is today. And it will be a long-term asset for the city. I know when I worked for the city of Atlanta, there's a guy on staff who was totally immersed into Frederick Douglass. And I made a couple of comments. I had a little bit of his history here in the city. This was back in 95. And he was interested in that piece.
I think there are a lot of people that are interested. What I'm trying to get at is, it's basically, I'm joking a little about this, but it's like Plymouth Rock. There it is. And that's it. And I don't want to take anything away from it, but in essence, I am. Because once word gets out, well, yeah, it's there, but there's really not that much to see.
Well, how many people have visited Plymouth Rock, Brian? Is it the hundreds of thousands of people over the years?
Yes. Okay. Probably more.
Yeah, and as the word gets out for this, there's going to be tens of thousands of people coming here just for that purpose. And it isn't simply looking at the bust and looking at the park. They have whole programs that they're ready to initiate for people that do come and visit, sponsored by the Cape Verdean community. And I think that's very, very important. So anyway,
all right. I'll give it the benefit of a doubt.
Yeah, I just wanted to give high compliments for the person that we honored here, that being Frederick Douglass, and most deserving of that honor, one of the greatest orators in American history. And he came here because of the abolitionist movement and the Underground Railroad and what he was able to accomplish from that point. Absolutely tremendous.
He sure did. He came, but he left. Anyway, thanks for the call.
Yep,
I do appreciate it. 508-996-0500 is how you get on. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. First of all, I've got a ball signed by Ted Williams.
Cool.
I can imagine what that is worth. And I've been to Plymouth Rock, and they put it like in a cage because people were chipping out, taking pieces of it. Remember?
I know there's a big iron picket. What do you call those? Iron picket stakes all around it. Yeah, you. I guess people can jump in there, but why would you?
Yeah, but they used to take a hammer and take some of the rock. If that happened, there would be no rock left.
I suppose that's true, but let me ask you something. You seem like a fairly intelligent type of guy. Do you really think that's the rock that the Mayflower crashed into?
I don't know. Well, we weren't there.
You're right. But let's think about that for a second. If it is that exact rock, well, then I guess people really do want a piece of it. And hopefully people don't want a piece of the bust of a young Frederick Douglass.
I absolutely not.
But, we do have people, and I don't want to say New Bedford folk, but there are people from all over the country that would want a little piece of that action.
I know, but that's not right.
No, it's not right. It's vandalism at the least.
Yeah, but they should be arrested and put in jail for life when they do something like that.
Now, would that punishment fit the crime? Jail for life?
Yeah, I think so.
You do?
I think so.
Well, I'm glad you're not my judge. But I hear your point is well taken. Sometimes we need to send out a message. Juries need to send out a message. I'm just not sure that thrown behind bars for life. In fact, I don't think you would even get thrown behind bars for chipping away at Plymouth Rock or defacing a sculpture of Frederick Douglass. I think that you would be forced to pay restitution. So cough up the money.
Absolutely. But that's my opinion.
Well, no. And what are you going to do with that baseball?
Put it in a cage and don't let nobody handle it.
So I would hope that you would, because if it's signed by Ted, then if you leave it out in the open air, that signature is going to fade.
Absolutely.
All right, my man.
Okay, buddy.
I appreciate it. You too.
Bye now.
508-996-0502. Get on to Brian's Beat today. Ta-da. Oh, I brought this up, and I'll talk a little bit more about it on the other side. But what I'd like to do right now is take a little time out for the Bitcoin Business Barometer, where we measure the universal crypto marketplace. And let's see, I get the numbers from CoinMarketCap.com. Bitcoin, just about everybody or every crypto or Bitcoin is up compared to last week. Bitcoin is up almost $4,000 from last week at this time, coming in this morning at $30,697. Ethereum is 1,891. That's up 135. Binance Coin is up $1. It's at 248. XRP is up a penny at 49 cents. Cardano 29 cents, up 2 cents. Dogecoin is even at 6 cents. And Solana up $1. Coming in this morning at $17. That's your Bitcoin Business Barometer for today, June 24th. I get my numbers from CoinMarketCap.com because anytime I go to that site, the numbers are being updated as I click. Can't go wrong with that. CoinMarketCap.com. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the Supreme Court ruling known as Dobbs. What did Dobbs do? It overturned Roe, as in Roe versus Wade. What did it do? The Supreme Court ruled that the issue of abortion is states' rights, not a national issue. And as we have seen, there have been a plethora of states that have moved in both directions to solidify as well as to put on more abortion bans. Here in the Commonwealth, Governors Baker and Healy came to the rescue, combining to ensure any woman can come to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for an abortion and not have to worry about repercussions from her home state. And to me, this is one of the places where even Massachusetts has gone beyond the pale. I mean, what business is it of the Commonwealth if another state wants to put some type of law rule on a woman who leaves her state to go to another state for an abortion? I'm not here to say that abortion should be illegal. Hey, here's the other thing. I don't think other states should try to impose something like that. Imagine trying to enforce it. Massachusetts also has mandates on medical facilities. Basically, got to take them in. If they don't have the money, you got to do it anyway. So that means if you have medical insurance, you're going to pay more. If you don't have medical insurance, well, maybe the state now is going to kick in some booty, and now your tax dollars are going to be going up. This is where our government, Massachusetts government, has overstepped its bounds. Abortion is and has been for decades legal here in the Commonwealth. But when it gets to the point that you're trying to tell somebody whether they are for or against abortion, that they have to now pay for someone else's abortion, that to me is government overreach. That's using your tax dollars and my tax dollars, A, without consent, and not where it helps us in the long run. Personal opinion, you're certainly allowed to jump in at 508-996-0500. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want you to at least look at the glasses half full. What you're saying about the Frederick Douglass statue, it was absolutely wonderful. There was hundreds of people there, and people are coming to the city. It's not just to see that. There's a whole lot to see in New Bedford, so please, look at the glasses half full. There's a lot going on in New Bedford, and people are going to come to see that, and not just that, the rest of the city.
Maybe.
Have a great day.
I appreciate it. Look, I'm looking at it from what I saw. I am a supporter of Frederick Douglass. He only spent 6 years here, but be that as it may, this is an adopted home for Frederick Douglass. Now, if you want to believe that a lot of people are going to say, oh, let's go check it out on their way to Cape Cod, or maybe coming from New York to Boston, or you name, going from which direction to whatever other direction, fine. I mean, I don't know how many ticker counts are going to be. I'm certainly going to take a look at it in the daytime. I've looked at it, but I don't know how many people, and you don't know how many people are going to do that. Yeah, you may wish that people do it, but you don't know for sure that folks are going to just get off and take a peek-see. I mean, I can hardly wait to look at what the newspapers have about it. I already went to the Substandard. I didn't see much there on it. I'm not saying that they didn't cover it or will do something on it. But in order for people to really want to come and see it, when they see that park is really short, 50 yards, a couple of housing lots, sure, they may get out of the car and quickly park and take a look. Then what? Yeah, some people will drive down 7th to look at some of the other houses. But now you start getting into, well, how many people are going to do that? Now, if we say over a month, a few, through the end of the calendar year, I bet you get more views this month and halfway through next month than you're going to get over the next several months. Month by month by month by month by month. If you're looking over a generation, well, sure, you will have quite a few people. And as the caller first stated, well, how many people go see Plymouth Rock? Sure, a lot of people go to see Plymouth Rock, and they don't know what Plymouth Rock is. And when they see, I mean, I've heard it, I've stated it several times. That's it? In the 1970s, 1980s, the old Boston Garden. The old Boston Garden. Lots of players wanted to come see it because of the mystique of the Boston Garden. And then they get there, And Kevin McHale famously stated, this is it. Played there for several years. But, this is where I come from. I don't know that you try to make the park any larger. It's good to have it. Once again, I talk about how many people are coming from far away. Look, if they are coming with the intent to see the park, that's one thing. How many people are going to just stop? Well, here, let's go to New Bedford because they've got this park. There'll be a few. But how many down the road? 508-996-0500. And like I mentioned earlier, I will go see it again. Welcome back to Brian's Beat. Glad to be with you. I guess we're still getting a couple of little raindrops coming down at this particular time. And the sun has lost the early battle with the clouds. Bye-bye, sun. Come back soon. 508-996-0500 to get on to Brian's Beat. Hello.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
I just caught the tail end of your conversation about the new park. Is it the Frederick Douglass?
It's called Abolition Row Park.
Uh-huh. And my comment was, have you ever seen the Mona Lisa?
Not up front and up close and personal, no.
Okay, well, I was lucky enough when I was a young girl to see it in the museum in France. And you look at it and you think, gee, that's really tiny, And it was wonderful to see it. I'm not poo-pooing it by any means. But I think that the Abolition Row...
Row Park.
Row Park. I think that this, in combination with the other things that are happening around New Bedford, I think that that's wonderful. And if you do a walking tour, and you have people who can explain about the Underground Railroad, it can be packaged as a whole thing. And I think that's what Plymouth has going for it, because when you go to Plymouth, you just don't go to see the rock. There are other things around Plymouth that draw people in, as well as the natural beauty of Plymouth. And New Bedford certainly has natural beauty. It has wonderful restaurants. And I think in this area, we sell ourselves short. What I'd like to see is Fort Tabor be spruced up, because that's fallen into disrepair. And I'm not blaming this city. It's vandalism, I think. Some of it might be wear and tear. But I think that we have to start adopting a different mindset and not like, oh, she's from New Bedford or, poor thing. I think we should be really proud of where we live, because there is so much history here. And that's my 2 cents worth.
Any change?
Well, if you're really good, you might get a penny back.
Well, wow. I appreciate that. You're not the first person who mentioned as a package. My way of looking at it is most people, when they're heading to the Cape or they're coming up from Jersey or wherever going to Boston, New Bedford usually is not a stop. So the let's say the folks over at the Historical Society, they've got stuff up on social media talking about this new Abolition Row Park. Come see it. Now, it could be attractive to certain people, and I'm going to stereotype for a second, black folk who might want to see what an Abolition Row Park and part of the Underground Railroad was. But to the majority population that is making their way up and going over or going up into New Hampshire, it's not really a foresight to say, oh, well, let's get off of 195 at Route 18 and come down and check this out. You know what I mean?
I understand what you mean, but I think it's a case where marketing would really help, because you've got that new park, you've got the Whaling Museum, naturally, which is world famous, but that shouldn't be our only draw. You have a working waterfront. You have all those things. So when I envision New Bedford and what New Bedford could be, as far as the destination goes, I see a lot of like positive energy from young people who are opening restaurants and, sustaining them, or, the population is sustaining them. I see like a real resurgence. And I think what we need to do is we have to have a mindset change. And I think that only happens like when you have a few people talking it up and being proud of where you're from. I grew up in Dartmouth, and I taught in Fairhaven. And so like I know a little bit, and I lived in New Bedford after I was married. So I kind of experienced all the towns, but like Fairhaven has its benefactor, Henry Huddleston Rogers, who gave so many beautiful buildings to the town. And I think New Bedford has equally gems that have not been fully polished yet. I think Joe Thomas is a treasure to have in this community, Spinner Publication, and it's a matter of marketing, I think. And you have people go, like, to the 10 spots or whatever, however the brochure would read, and give a little bit of history, and you can attract people who are interested in that. Not everyone wants to go and lie on a beach. Some people are really hungry for knowledge, and I think that's where New Bedford can step up to the plate and shine.
I won't say no to that.
Good, because I'll cry.
It comes down to a numbers game after a while, and while I agree that there are a lot of hidden treasures in the city of New Bedford, there are a lot of old relics that, for whatever reason, nobody has either the financing or the willpower to turn around and refurbish.
And I think there are a lot of people in the area with very deep pockets. For example, I cite the Whaling Museum and how easily they can raise money. And I think we have to tap into some of those local philanthropists and try to come up with a coherent plan for it. It's not easy. By any means, it's not easy. But I think it can be done. And we should really try to, work for that. That's my opinion.
Look, I hear what you're saying, and I think I'll top it with when I say top it, wrap this up with this. You're correct. There have been many people that live in the city of New Bedford and in surrounding communities of New Bedford, but come into the city to work, and they're a little upset that a lot of money gets poured into the downtown area and not the near north, if you want to call it that. But, that area, Cogsall, up to Fair Street. So is there money to toss around? I don't know. I think that there are people that have deep pockets that turn around and say, well, am I going to throw good money after bad, or am I going to throw good money where I think it's really going to be used?
Fair, but I think that, you could certainly incorporate the North End with its rich history of immigration. You've got that beautiful St. Anthony of Padua Church, beautiful, that I think was originally built by French Canadians. You've got a lot of Portuguese influence in the North End with the restaurants. You have, the more recent immigrants who are coming to, and I think that if we celebrate all those heritages and, try to coordinate and bring the city together instead of saying, well, a lot of money is going to downtown. That's true. But I think we can draw the other places in. I think it's only fair. And you got Fort Taber in the South End. So
I hear what you're saying, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
We can keep on tossing this around. I don't know that there's the real willpower. I think that there's some power brokers that are loving what you're saying right now, but then there are others that are saying, yeah, it sounds good, but no, I want to hear you, and folks just won't sit down at the table to make that happen. But good idea.
Thank you.
I'll definitely give you credit for a good idea.
Okay.
And I'll take the penny, too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. 508-996-0500 is how you get on to Brian's Beat today. We have ABC News coming your way at the top of the hour. And then in hour number 2, term limits. There's been some talk about it here on WBSM, term limits for New Bedford city councilors. When we come back after the top of the hour news, I'll explain why, if I did live in the city of New Bedford, why I would not, and I do repeat, would not sign this particular petition. That doesn't mean you don't sign it. It just means that I would not be signing on the proverbial dotted line. But